There's a reason I designed my camper van this way, and it's not just to be a cozy, feature-packed home. This isn't just about storage, this is about something tied to my past, something I walked away from, but maybe not forever. To explain what I mean, I need to take you back to 2018 when everything changed. I spent just over a year living in China. I'll explain why I was there and what I was doing a little later. That was the longest time I'd spent away from my van in about 10 years. When I got back to the UK, it marked the end of a big chapter in my life. Something that had been a huge passion for me through most of my adult life, a dream that I'd worked so hard to achieve. Sometimes in life, when we achieve our dreams, even the most fantastic ideas can start to feel mundane. And that's what happened to me. It started to feel like the sacrifices I'd made to live the life I'd longed for were no longer worth it. When I was reunited with my battered old transit van, I started to question whether I even wanted to go back to van life. I'd got so used to the comforts of my apartment in China, but I had a new plan, a new life direction, and the only way I could see myself realizing that was by getting back on the road. So I set to making some upgrades on this van so I could start chasing my next dream. During that time, COVID had set in, obviously, and the doors to my old life seemed permanently closed. So I pushed on with my plans, and once the transit was ready and the new restrictions on our lives allowed, I hit the road once again, heading to Wales to start training for my new career as a tree surgeon. It felt good to be back on the road, learning new skills, facing new challenges. I started to fall back in love with van life. But I knew this old transit wasn't going to last too many more adventures. And I still missed some of the comforts I'd got used to living in my apartment in China. I wanted more space, and as much as I enjoyed washing in the rivers in Wales during the summer, I wanted a shower that was better than this setup. So the search began for my next home on wheels. The upgrade, my dream van. I think I spent over a year trawling through ads, waiting for the right van to call to me. But when it finally did, it came with an unexpected surprise. It took me back to a place from my old life. But I guess that needs some context. So what was this? So what was this old life I'd once been so passionate about? This thing I'd worked so hard for and then walked away from? It started with me as a teenager, working in a pizza factory and taking a weekend job as a nightclub entertainer. Stilt walking and fire breathing for crowds of drunks all over the UK. From those beginnings, many years later, through multiple twists and turns along the way, I found myself as a professional contemporary circus artist, performing aerial acrobatics for crowds in shows all over the world. If you've watched some of the other videos on my channel, you might already know that. And by now you can probably guess what I was doing for that year while I was living in China. The show I worked on over there was the biggest that I'd ever been part of. It was in a purpose-built 8,000-seat arena with over 300 performers. It really should have been the highlight of my career. But by that point, it had become just about a paycheck. And I was thousands of miles away from my friends and family. But that's not where I found the new van. The van brought me back to Leavesden Studios, just outside of London, where I'd worked years before as a stunt double for Alexander Skarsgård on the movie The Legend of Tarzan. Bradley, who'd previously owned the Iveco, was a driver for Warner Brothers, and he'd been storing it in the parking lot at the studios. As much as I was enjoying my new life as a tree surgeon, in that moment, while I was looking around this ex-ambulance, the seed of a new idea had been planted. I think it was a combination of memories of my performing days being triggered by being back in those studios, and also the capabilities of that onboard generator. One thing was certain: the circus had started calling to me again. Since buying the van, I've been slowly chipping away at the conversion, all the time improving my skills as a tree surgeon, to the point now where I earn more money doing that than I did most years as a performer. But the stage was never about making money. It was about bringing something magical into people's lives, creating stories and spectacles for people to get lost in, escapism from the troubles of daily life. So how does my new van fit into all this exactly? I'll let you into a secret. You may have noticed that the name of this channel is not your average Vanlife name. That's because Cinnabar Circus is the name of a new performance company that I'm launching. And this van is going to be at the heart of our first show. When she's finished and on the road, those first Vanlife adventures will see me traveling around the world, meeting performers, hearing their stories, and bringing them onto the stage for you guys. On this channel, you'll get to see every step of the journey as Cinnabar Circus creates its first touring show. And this van has been purpose-built with that journey in mind. Let me show you some features. We might have to wait a moment. Need to clear some smoke. Firstly, I've made sure I've got really nice big cooking and pot wash facilities, so I can cook and clean dishes for a core company of say 5 or 6 people. I've kept these unwind rails installed in this part of the floor to help with moving any large bits of set or circus equipment that we need to move around. This roof space is ready to be used as a stage, and in here is where I'll store and transport my freestanding aerial rig. The last show that I made, everything travelled around with me in the transit van, and needless to say, it was less than ideal for transporting the props and equipment for an entire show. It was more than cramped. So this space I've meticulously measured out so my freestanding rig will fit in here perfectly and be really easy to get in and out of the vehicle when we need to. Until now, I've only told a handful of people about my plans. But one of those people is my close friend and world-renowned high wire artist, Ellis Grover. Now, despite knowing me quite well, he is the first performer to agree to be part of this new circus project. We only got to perform together a couple of times in our career, and we're both really excited to see what this show becomes. During those performing years, Ellis was like my circus brother, and he's done some really incredible things with his career. I'll put a link to one of his videos down in the description. And if you're interested to see any of my old performances, have a look down at some of the older videos on my channel. There's quite a few on there. So if you want to see me finally get this van on the road and follow along as the whole adventure unfolds, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. Let's bring some magic to the world with Cinnabar Circus. See you next time, guys. Bye.